Welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin. All right, so I'm in Fukuoka at my wife's parents' house, Baba and Gigi's house. Now, that means grandma and grandpa in Japanese, and that's what my daughters call their Japanese grandparents, Baba and Gigi. And this is one of the cooler rooms in their house. Now, you can see behind me some rice fields. My wife's father is, well, he's retired, but does rice farming, sort of like as a side gig, and I think more for fun than anything. And here we are. And, well, this would be where, like, guests come when they visit. It's, you know, there's, like, another part of the house where has a more homey feel, but this is more, I guess, just sort of a like traditional Japanese sitting room for guests and stuff, and so it's kind of a cool look. So let's check it out. There's a nice big wood table there. Shoji doors, which are made of paper. This is a little corner for offerings, and so oh, there's my my wife's deceased grandparents. The woman on the left actually looks a lot like my wife. If you want to know what my wife is going to look like when she's older, well, that's what she's going to look like. This right here is kind of interesting. It's I don't really know the specifics of it, but it's, you know, related to Buddhism and Shinto, and, you know, a little offering place. That's osake, some mikan there in the back is an offering. Some mochi with a mikan on top. And this is where you stick in the incense after you light it on the candle. And use this to, right before you do your hands together. That's what that's for. All right, so, well, let's get into watches. Let's talk watches. Okay, so I was thinking since the last video about something I said in the last video. Towards the end, I expressed some reservations about the prices of these watches going up. And you might think that's what you want, especially if you're not planning on getting any more watches. You want the pieces that you have to go up in price. And while that's true, you know, on reflection, I realized that my dismay, if you will, at the price increases are the fact that it makes the watches difficult to replace. And the idea of being able to replace a watch is somewhat comforting. You know, when you have a piece, even if it's an expensive piece, if you know that you can go out and buy it for similarly what you paid for it, it gives you a little bit more peace of mind that you can use it and enjoy it. And worst case scenario, you can go out and you can replace it. And I think that's what it is. They're getting irreplaceable. You know, watches, a watch like this is, you know, I'm already sort of protective of this watch because, you know, it would be difficult to replace exactly this, you know, the no polished box and papers. That would be difficult to replace. But I could have replaced it with another Pepsi GMT a couple years ago. And at least I could have done that. But it's getting to where that's becoming more and more an impossibility. And so it sort of just makes me all that much more concerned about its welfare. And that's really not the way you want to think about your watches and use your watches and whatnot. I mean, it's a difficult thing to forget about the value of something. You can't treat it as cavalierly as you may want to. You know, you might have an old guitar that your grandfather gave you, and, you know, you take it out on the porch and you strum it, and when people come over, you hand it to them and you sit it in the corner and you lay it down on the floor, and, you know, take it here or there, you put it in the back seat of the car, take it to the beach. And if somebody were to come up to you and say, that is an old Gibson, they are so rare, they're worth $500,000, all of a sudden things would change. You know, you wouldn't want anybody to touch it. You definitely wouldn't take it to the beach. You wouldn't put it in the car. All of a sudden, the relationship would change with the guitar. For the worse, probably. You wouldn't enjoy it as much. The weight of its value would be felt. And, you know, you hear about people discovering they have these watches that are worth a lot of money, and you always think, wow, that's great. I mean, you know, you just keep on going with it on your wrist, just knowing that you've got a really desirable piece. But I think it weighs on people, and they want to sell them. They want to get rid of them. The responsibility is just too great. The thought of something happening to it and the regret that would be felt, I think, is something that weighs on them, and they think, I'm out. Now, I'm not saying that I'm out, but I'm just saying that I enjoyed this watch probably more. Now, I don't know if that's true, but I liked the idea that it would be somewhat easy to replace if something happened to it. It goes for all of my watches. Will I enjoy it less? I'll try not to. But, you know, it will affect how much I wear it. Definitely where I wear it. I could never become a one-watch guy with this watch. Let me switch arms. Now, I could never become a one-watch guy with this watch. I think I guess I could. I would just have to really make a conscious effort just not to think about, you know, what they're going for, and it would take a lot of letting go. But these 5 days of being in Fukuoka, you know, I felt like I've been a one-watch guy, and it's been great. You know, it just always stays on my wrist. The only time I take it off is when I shower. You know, I slept with it. The Luminova allows me to tell the time at night, and you know, it's just, I really could become a one-watch guy. You know, of course, I don't know if that would change in a couple months, and I would start to want something different. Probably I would. I think that's just natural. I think it's the human condition to always want to be moving, and so always want to be changing things and progressing, and I think that doesn't lend itself to being happy with just one watch, unless you're really not a watch guy. So, so I don't know the practicality of it, but it's certainly been enjoyable these 5 days, just really concentrating and focusing and enjoying the watch. But you know, when I go back to Tokyo, I have a feeling that I'll pretty quickly put on the Explorer 2. Yeah, I just sort of feel like enjoying it from afar, and if the prices of these plummeted, say last year, then I can't say that I would feel the same way. I might not. Anyways, just something to think about, you know. the double-edged sword of your watch is increasing in price. You know, you think about it and you think, yeah, that's just a win. That's just a win. But it changes the dynamic. It changes the relationship with the watch, and the usability of the watch and your perception of the watch. And all of a sudden you start to think, does this watch deserve to be on my wrist or on a pedestal? Interesting stuff. I've always told you guys that I'm sort of out of the watch game, but I feel GMT fever right now. I feel like picking up a Coke, to be honest. I feel like flying someplace where the prices are still reasonable, the States, and picking one up, because it's now or never, I feel. I think there's GMT panic in Japan. GMT panic in Japan. And will it hit the rest of the world? Probably. But are there pockets of the world where you can still get a GMT for 5, 6, 7? I want to say yes. And if I was there, I would pick one up. I really would. I think I would pick one up tomorrow if I saw one for a good one for 6. So who knows? Maybe I'm not out of the watch game. Although I'm starting to think like a collector now. I'm starting to think like a hoarder. But anyway, take care. See you next time.